here, but there certainly are some on campus that are very interested in the general topic here, and I'm going to tell you about one project that involves several of them. It's a project, well, first of all, it's a group. Here's the Stanford story. Part of the reason I think that you're all together here is to very usefully demonstrate that the walls between programs at Stanford are short and some non-existent, and there's a lot of interdisciplinary collaboration. Doesn't mean you don't need to pay sharp attention to the details of how to get a degree in your own department, but there's a heck of a lot of wonderful interaction that goes on. Part of that was a group of faculty that for about a year met in the faculty club, which serves beer and that you can go to. And we talked about interdisciplinary interests in energy, especially with respect to behavior, energy behavior. A lot of technology, a lot of promise that's coming from the technical side of all this great research assumes that we'll all discover these great inventions, incorporate them in our lives, and change our ways as a result of that. So we applied for a grant through the Department of Energy after talking for a year, and this was part of the Advanced Research Project Agency in Energy that's part of Department of Energy. And long story short, and terribly unlikely to most of us participating, we got this great award. We're about a year into a 2-year, maybe 2-year and a quarter project, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. So here's the problem. A lot of effort is being spent on gathering information. This is a lot of devices being developed, a lot of sensing that's being done, a lot of promise with respect to these ubiquitous things that are able to tell us what's going on with respect to energy consumption. And maybe part of that value is that that information can automatically be used to change how energy is delivered or used in ways that don't involve human psyche and community organization. But a lot of information that's being generated with this smart infrastructure is designed for human consumption. And the problem here is that a lot of it is dull, sometimes stunningly dull. These problems of energy, which we are writing about now, are very distant to many people. The feedback associated with the technology is separated from behavior, oftentimes with respect to time. It's just not great competition for Facebook, for television, for the other things that are happening in information environments, because that's where the competition is. The competition for the use of this information is generally not from folks, perhaps like ourselves, that are hyper interested in personal consumption at home and are just really anxious to pore over all of that information. But if it's going to be useful at scale, it's going to have to compete in a more realistic environment than this one. This isn't too realistic with respect to what's going to actually enable this stuff to get done. So this project is designed to look at these technologies with respect to energy information and find out what's going on, the nature of that problem and how we can combat it. I mentioned there's one other problem down here that we're pretty interested in, and that's what individuals get when they are using this information is not totally solved yet. What is it? What is the value for me? The first value that all of us could come up with in a 2-minute brainstorming session is we're going to save money or we're going to do good. And those are not the great motivators right now. A better motivator may be that I'm going to, week over week, reduce energy by a greater percentage in my house than Lynn will in his house. In fact, it'll be the other way around. I've seen his house, so he's doing much better than I am. But that social competition and some of the other things that happen in current media may be more important. So this is what we're trying to compete against. And I'm going to show you a little model of this large project. So this larger project that we've got going here involves about a dozen faculty, 20 researchers, most of the schools on campus, in a loose organization that uses this funding to try to look at these problems of energy and behavior. It's all based on the fact, on the left side of the model here, that we're collecting and capturing a whole lot of stuff from sensors that are pervasive, relatively inexpensive, providing lots of data. And then the other side of this model is that this information is ready to be presented, ready to be shown persistently in lots of web-enabled devices, home area networks, websites, gadgets, smart meter data that utilities report, lots of different ways that we're pretty sure can influence individuals and social groups. But what we're working on is trying to fill out the middle of this. So the interventions that we're interested in are part of the center part of this model, and they fall into a couple different buckets, and I'll tell you a little bit about them. One of the hard things to do in the red column is to figure out how do we get this information from the devices into forms that we can actually use. And there's a whole political, technical scene here that involves getting PG&E, which is put in a smart meter in your home and has information about your energy use, depending on the week, maybe every 15 minutes of usage reported every 24 hours. That's what we're up against now, but technically possible to report it much more continuously than that. How do we get that information from their databases to, first of all, our research projects, and second of all, at scale to communities using lots of different devices? This is a huge issue, and it is not just technical. In fact, it is 10% technical, and the rest of it is relationships with complex organizations that move slowly, that are highly regulated, that are working in a public relations environment where they're extremely concerned about publicity for their technology. Smart meters, as you all know, pretty certainly cause cancer, pretty certainly, with respect to a lot of reporting, get the information wrong, you'll pay more money. None of these things, in my view, are true, but this is the information environment in which we're looking at. So creating these relationships and getting a method down that we can actually get that information into our research projects and solutions at scale is the first thing we're doing. One thing we've done, which I offered without any details and without any colleagues of mine here present to tell me we could never do this, but I think we could, is a platform that we have now completed that allows individuals that have smart meters installed via utility, and we're starting with PG&E, to go to a website and sign up for a way for our platform to scrape your utility information, which is currently being posted by PG&E on a website, to get all the passwords, all the communication necessary to do that, bring that information into our database, normalize that information with respect to weather, anything publicly known about your house, how many bedrooms there are, things that would be relevant to looking at energy efficiency in your home. And to do that without any relationship other than a relationship between you as the researcher, us as a researcher, and an individual who is giving permission for that data to be collected. So we have that energy platform. We're very interested in, there are engineers and as well as social scientists that are part of this project that are trying to figure out exactly how to build sensing information that's optimized for human behavior. What is the right resolution of data? You know, do you have to sample 10,000 times a second if human behavior is the area of interest? How often should you sample? So lots of things that are going on with respect to the actual technology and the platform for gathering that information. That's one set of projects. Probably the most active one right now is that column in the center, the green ones. And that's how can we take that information that's now in the system. We've got a database, and it's now got all Byron's energy usage reported for the day. How can we present that? What kind of context is interesting? Should we tell Byron how he's doing relative to his neighbors, relative to his own family at another time in the day? Should we tell him how much money he's saving? You know, what kinds of information are the best ways to capture Byron's attention and to get him involved in here? And more interestingly, how do we get through that initial barrier of selective attention? Forget what I make of the energy information once I get to it. How do we get people to actually get there? So how do we compete with cool stuff that I've got, that my media budget is being spent on other ways? So there, I'll mention a couple of projects today. We've got a way to actually put this, the energy data that we're collecting into a multiplayer game. So that's a pretty interesting thing to do. We've got, we're out in the community working with the Girl Scouts. We're looking at experiments on kind of behavioral economic ways to actually package this information. So lots of different programs present there. So I'm just going to tell you about one of these. Hillary is working on a project called GLEE, G-L-E-E. You may see it if you follow energy around here. She's also a PhD graduate of the Interdisciplinary Energy Program, so another reason to meet Hillary. But here's something that you might not have thought of with respect to the environment and climate change. This is trying to take what is the dominant form of new media right now, multiplayer games, bigger industry than film and television put together, you know, from Farmville to World of Warcraft. People are playing these games, having a wonderful time doing it, trying to take that information, or that context, that media context, the engagement there, and allowing the energy data to be put into the game via the smart meter. So you turn off the lights in your house, smart meter recognizes it, sends it to the utility, they post it on the web, we scrape it, we bring it into the game, and you get 5 points. And that all happens like that. So now we've got a mechanism to use the real world, your real house, as a joystick into a game where you can compete with yourself and neighbors. And this is the first part of dashboard of the game where you can see your energy use. This is nothing different than you can probably do on PG&E site, but you can start playing some interesting games. This is a game where you follow a family. It's called Powerhouse. You follow a family around this house. It's all pretty realistic. The appliances in the game are taking energy in the game about the way they would in real life, and you accelerate a week into a very quick part of this. You get points, but you do better or worse in the game depending on what happened in real life in your real house. You compete with your neighbors. Some people have solar panels on their home. This is just like Farmville, which is played by about 60 to 90 million people on a monthly basis, by the way. So for those that don't follow games, this is really where the scale is in it. So you can compete with other people. There's a leaderboard where you can do well or not. I could have a Friday night lights out challenge. I might get micro carbon credits in the game for actually saving energy. And they might not be useful for saving the glaciers in Antarctica, but they're useful to bet Lynn that on a Friday night lights out challenge that I can save more energy than he can from 7 to 8 p.m. So we can have a bet, and it's an objective arbitration. It's not, you know, it's not just something that you do within the piece of media, but you're actually able to look at what the smart meter says. So there's a lot of different, there's a Facebook Connect here. These games use that. You can, there's a forum where you can talk to people. So that's an example of the kind of interventions that we're doing. Hillary would have told you about the intervention. This is a community intervention being run by a pediatrician in the med school who's very interested in community intervention programs. This is Tom Robinson. But we're taking the health model that he's developed, and we're saying we could use that in energy. So we can go out to community groups and schools, in this case the Girl Scouts, teach, develop a curriculum, teach that curriculum. There are videos. This is a large, well-funded project. Involve these girls in that program, and then see whether or not the educational activities actually worked based on what really happened in real homes. So that's the key part of what we're doing. The criterion, the dependent variable in this research is objective behavior sensed by the technology.